Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men who act like children of all ages, welcome into the Moi Ploy. No fancy intro for you guys today. Just me. Haven't had time to make the Dynasty intro video, but boys, we got a new season going on right now, and we've got a State of the League address coming from your commissioner to you. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a little look at what is going down in the Dynasty town. Let's go ahead and show you guys what I'm looking at. Boom. All right. Excuse me. Ooh, that was a just truly disgusting belch. I had to mute for that one. Man, I don't know what's going on with me right now. All right. Sorry, guys. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the standings. So, in first place, a little surprising, we've got Jim Mertz, Scott's Tots in second, Iceman in third, myself, Jay Chal, Pigu, Brett, Juan, and the only two teams at 0-2 are Eddie Disler and Tom, not Tom, Mad Tom, Rich. Not Tom, Rich. Ooh, excuse me. All sorts of bodily stuff like attacking me all at once right now. All right, guys. So I want to kind of break down a little bit of the where the league is at and kind of give a quick address to each team and talk a little bit about where the team can go from here. Oh, man. That was gross. I'm so sorry, guys. Yowza. All right. So I'm going to show you guys the Dynasty Daddy tool that I have. This is just an amazing podcast so far where I'm just like saying nothing, talking in circles, and nothing's happening. All right. So the overall power ranks are in this order here. Myself down to Brett. Now, that does not reflect the actual power rank of the rosters. What this shows is the total like overall value, how much value, like basically how much money is in your bank account. I like to think of like a dynasty roster is kind of like a bank account, whereas like Peter has most of like a good chunk of his money is in draft picks. Whereas someone like Eddie, all of his money is in his players. And kind of true for Jordan and Tom as well. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the playoff calculator. I think this is an interesting one. Playoff calculators are projected records. I think it's going to be tough for Tom and I to finish out at 10-4 since we've already gone 1-1. Eddie starting 0-2 is not how you want to start. It looks like he's actually projected to come in behind Ray and Jordan at this point, but projected to finish number one of the 7-7s. Now, Jim's start of 7-7 or start of 2-0 could end up being a 7-7 record because Jim's depth chart is brutal and bye weeks and injuries are coming at him fast. Let's go ahead and break down individual teams. We'll just start at the bottom and work our way up. What is Rich trying to do right now? Rich, in my mind, is a manager who is intentionally tanking. That's not a slur. That is a good for you. You recognize that your team sucks and you're doing something about it. Now, Rich, what I am going to do if I am you is I am immediately trying to sell Najee Harris for whatever I can get for him. Calvin Ridley, probably trying to sell him too because let's just be honest, bro. Rich, your roster has like you don't have enough flex-worthy players that your 2 first-round picks next year are going to be able to fill in the gaps of your roster. You're looking at a multi-year rebuild, in which case, like, is Calvin really going to be productive in his age 30 season? Uncertain. He might be productive, but it's certainly going to be at the tail end of that. I'd rather get in the max value for him now. His value will literally never be higher than it is right now because 28 is kind of like the peak of a wide receiver's career. This is when they're at their most productive, and the teams that are starved for points see value in Calvin Ridley. The teams like you who don't care about his points, you're looking at this age and you're saying 28, man, by the time I'm competing, he's going to be 30. Is he even going to be super productive? You don't know. He could suffer a catastrophic knee injury and be out of the league next year. You don't know. But what you do know is that the draft capital that you could acquire for Calvin Ridley will not get injured, will not decrease in value, will only increase in value. Najee Harris, same thing. Next year, he'll be an age 26 running back. People look at age 26 running backs and generally puke inside their own mouth because no one wants them. Renfro's value, Hunter Renfro, his value is pretty much completely died on your team. It's too late, honestly. I would trade Baker because I don't think he's going to have a starting job next year. So, like, there's teams in the league that are starving for quarterback. If you could get a second for Baker, that's a win-win for both guys because you're taking away that sort of like, is Baker going to be a backup next year? I don't know. Well, how about I just remove that uncertainty and get a pick that I could use to then purchase something later. So you're kind of like taking the value, you're freezing Baker Mayfield's value in time by getting that second round pick. Say it's a second round pick in 2025, maybe even. And then you are freezing that value in time. Now, his value may continue to go up, or it might go down and turn into nothing. But basically, by selling the players that have a very like high variance in their value and selling them for a pick, you're freezing that value and then being able to spend it later on the next Baker Mayfield. When you are trying to compete, then you can take your second round pick and get a guy like Desmond Ridder, who, like, Desmond Ridder right now is probably worth about a second. He's a guy who's kind of middle of the road in fantasy. Like, he's not super productive. He's got a job this year, probably not next year, maybe not. But, like, that's the kind of thing that I'm saying is, like, sell these guys now so that when you do go to compete, you can use those picks to purchase players in the year that you've decided to compete. All right. I would also probably sell Javonte Williams. You might write him out and see if he has a big spike week, then try to sell maybe 2 good games in a row. But I'm also probably trying to sell Javonte Williams. He's young enough. You could try to keep him, but, like, he'll be 25 by the year you're going to compete. And at that point, I don't know, man. It's risk. It's a risk. Again, like, if he gets up to the point where he's worth a first, I'm selling because generally the running backs that go in the first round of rookie drafts are good. And you know that they're going to be good. Whereas Javonte Williams, you're not 100% sure what he could be in 2 years. You don't know. If he tears the same ACL again, like, he's just done. So yeah, basically I'm just trying to unload literally anyone who's not super duper young. And I'm trying to sell everyone who is a running back. Any running back, get them off your roster because running backs lose value so fast. Eddie is in a weird spot because he's kind of forced to compete right now. Now, what I like about Eddie is he's got Puka Nacua, a great up-and-coming young player. Huge hit on Puka here. He's got a couple of other guys, like Jake Bobo is a rookie, but he's contributing. You do like to see that. Probably a guy you're going to hang on to for a year or two, see what happens. He might turn into like a Josh Palmer type of guy where he's useful for like a year or two. realistically, it's probably what you're going to get. As far as other guys, I'm probably looking to sell any of these like kind of mid-tier, like middle to bottom tier tight ends. If you're getting thirds or fourths for them, these are not guys you want to start in your lineup. So what you can do is you sell them for those picks, and then those picks get you rookie tight ends essentially. And you're basically taking on like a Tyler Conklin who might be productive. And if you're able to get a third or a fourth for him, you're basically just taking him and you're rolling him and tossing him into, you're re-rolling him. And maybe you get a tight end who is 21. Maybe you get the next Travis Kelce. Unlikely, but it is a actual possibility. I think Travis Kelce went in like the 5th round. So like tight ends they're generally just kind of come out of nowhere. And if you go with a later round tight end in a rookie draft, you have a non-zero chance of making a big hit. Also, like other 4th round players, Brian Robinson was a 4th round pick. He just put up 30 points for Ray the other day. Isaiah Pacheco was a 4th round draft pick. I just traded him for a first. So like these are the types of things that you can do with these veteran players. OBJ, I'd literally, if you can get anything for him, if there's anyone in this league who will take anything, I'm doing it. I'm starting to try and make those microtransactions to try to keep myself relevant and extend my winning window for as long as I can, because you paid for this window. I'm going to try to keep it going, but I'm also going to start to try and get out from underneath some of my older players. Like if I could get anything for Justice Hill because of the J.K. Dobbins injury, I'm trading Justice Hill for a third, maybe a second in 3 years. Like start looking future minded so that you're not rebuilding. You can kind of maybe reload a little bit. Yeah, like Latavius Murray, no one's giving you anything for Latavius. He's a 33-year-old running back. He's just write him out. If he's productive this year, enjoy it, because this is the last gasp for that man. You're probably having to hold on to Joshua Dobbs because you only have 2 quarterbacks. Your starting roster's fine. If you're able to maybe start making some moves of like kind of trade, if the season's not going well, say you're 0-3 next week, maybe you trade Steph Diggs for like a Michael Pittman and a 2nd round pick. And so you not only get younger, you stay not really like you basically down tier. You go from the kind of S tier of wide receiver production kind of into like the A or the B tier with Michael Pittman. And then you also get a 2nd round pick, but you're more importantly rolling back Stephon Diggs' age by 4 years. And so then you can kind of keep like Michael Pittman, who might produce for the next 3 years as kind of that B tier wide receiver plus a 2nd round pick. And then you could turn Michael Pittman into potentially a first or something like that if he spikes in value or hype or something like that. Or maybe he just produces well, and then you can ride that out too. But yeah, you're getting older and you don't have a lot of draft capital. So you need to start looking at find ways to use microtransactions to reload your team and your draft capital. This video is going to go very long if I don't start moving faster. Let's move faster. Juan, your team is interesting in that you have the lowest points against for the entire league, but you also have the 2nd lowest points for in the entire league. So I feel like your roster is significantly worse than what you might believe it to be this year. Now, you do have Alvin Kamara coming back soon, but besides Kamara and Mixon, I don't like any of your running backs. That's not a horrible spot to be. You can purchase like fill-in running backs for 3rds and 4ths, things like that. And you've got some extra running backs on the team that could eventually turn into guys, but you only have 4 running backs on your bench? That's not great. Whereas you've got a bunch of wide receivers that you're literally never going to start. So I would rather have these shitty wide receivers turn into shitty running backs that might eventually see your lineup. You got a couple guys down here that could eventually get promoted, maybe like Kendre Miller. Most likely Kendre Miller. Joshua Downs too. I guess Downs is doing all right. As far as what to do with your team, brother, you have pretty limited options, in my opinion. You could try to down tier one of your 2 elite quarterbacks, but unless I was desperate to compete, I'm not doing that. What I'm doing if I'm you is I'm riding this season out, seeing what happens because you don't have your own first. You may as well try to compete and maybe sneak into the playoffs. And then you can kind of maybe use some nasty boys, some third string running backs that happen to be getting spot starts due to injuries type of thing. See what happens. But if it's not going well, you've got Mike Evans, you've got Debo, you've got Mixon, you've got Kamara. They all need to go. Montgomery's got to go. AJ Dillon's got to go just because the dude fucking sucks. How old is he? 25. Yeah, exactly. He's a 25-year-old running back. He's got to go. Juju, I think Juju could probably stay. He's only 26, but I also feel like Juju's, I don't know. I'm just worried, man. He seems to be getting worse, not better, despite the fact that he's only 26 years old and he should be in the prime of his career. Yeah, that's enough. Brett Tet, another guy who has basically none of his own draft picks for the next 3 years. Brett, what you need to be doing is those kinds of microtransactions I was telling you about. You've had a couple of really, really, really bad breaks with the Kyler injury, with the Dobbins injury. Bro, that sucks. This is Dynasty. This is what we signed up for, bro. You barely missed the playoffs last year, and I would be shocked if you make it in this year. You've got Robert Woods, who's somehow still putting up fantasy points. I think at this point he's a must start for you because your team is just needs points. I'm trying to get anything for Robert Woods. Here's the deal. Because you don't have your own first for like the next 3 years, you can probably guarantee that I'm going to hold them hostage because I don't think your team is very good. You can continue to try to compete. And kind of the same as Juan, I would go for it. You might make the playoffs. That would be amazing. And then again, you never know. Maybe you get in. Maybe Breece Hall gets injured and Dalvin Cook becomes really good. Maybe a couple things break your way and you're just in great shape. But if that's not the case, you need to sell CMC. You need to sell Devontae Adams. Probably sell Gabe Davis because I feel like he's just kind of a shitty wide receiver. And it just feels like, yeah, I don't believe in year 4 breakouts. If you look historically, statistically, if Gabe Davis were to break out in year 4, like that's the only player who's ever really broken out in year 4 and had like, there's been a couple. Like Devontae Parker broke out in year 4 or 5, but like he's had literally one good year. I believe it was, year 5 breakout on Robert Woods, but realistically, he only had like 2 good years. He had these 2 years where he got over 1,000 yards, and that was it for Robert Woods' career. People used to talk about him like all Robert Woods does is get 1,000 yards. All Robert Woods does is just finish as a wide receiver 1. Like, nah, dude. The story of Robert Woods is actually he found a great system, and then he got injured, and then he left the system, and he's been dog shit ever since. Like, I don't feel like I feel like the last Robert Woods 1,000-yard season is behind us. So, anyways, I'm not here to shun Robert Woods. I'm here to tell you that the 4th-year breakout for Gabe Davis is very, very unlikely to do anything for you long term. And if you decide that you are going to rebuild after this year, you got to tear it down. Dalvin Cook's got to go. McCaffrey, any running back that's worth anything has to go. And then any wide receiver over age 27 needs to go. Marquise will be 27 next year, so you probably try and get rid of him too. That's just how it goes sometimes, brother. Hot Skizzle. Pete, you're in a great position. You've got a shit ton of draft capital coming up. You got 1 this year. You got 3 next year. You've got 2 in 2026. So I really like where you're at right now. That said, I don't feel like you're competing, but I also don't think you have any incentive to really not compete. But that said, again, if I could find a buyer for Russell Wilson, I would. If I could find a buyer for any of your older, like Madison, anyone's interested in Madison, I'm taking them up. If they offer me, if I'm you, I'd probably take a second for Madison because I might hold and see if I could find a better window to sell. Like maybe Madison has like 1 or 2 great games in a row. And I might fish for a first and like maybe a 2026 first or something like that. But I don't foresee a lot of players coughing up a first for Madison. Rachaad White, however, is younger, not actually that much younger than Madison, but people are kind of dumb, to be honest. And because it's only Rachaad White's second year, the age isn't going to bother them as much. Should it? I think so. I feel like Rachaad White was an old rookie and that should be counted against him. But people are stupid, and they will absolutely pay more for Rachaad White, even if he's producing at the same clip as Alexander Madison, because people are going to think that Rachaad White has got some sort of magical upside, is significantly younger than Madison. No, he's just been in the league less time. Came in as an old rookie. But yeah, I'm trying to offload Wilson and Stafford, obviously, but you've been asking for way too much for a long time. Stafford's looking good. Wilson's coming off a great game. If you can get a 2026 first, great. Otherwise, a 2024 second is maybe second and change if they're performing well. I'd take it because if you're not really going to win, why just let their value die on your roster? It doesn't make any sense. You don't benefit from that in any way. Just take literally whatever you can get at the end of this year. Jay Chall. Bro, I'm not going to lie. I feel like your team is in deep shit long term. Not necessarily short term. I feel like you can skate by. But like I was saying this at the end of last year, Justin Fields earned the number 1 overall pick for his team. He earned that pick for his team. The NFL does not give a fuck about your fantasy points. They don't give a fuck that Justin Fields was on fire coming down the stretch. They don't care. The fans in Chicago, they don't care. They are going to be coming after Justin Fields with pitchforks and torches in about 2 games if this man doesn't get a GD win. And guess what? He got Kansas City next week. You think he's going to win that one? Kansas City hasn't looked great. It's possible. I wouldn't bet on it. Got Denver after that. You think he's going to look good against Denver's defense? Possible. Denver's defense hasn't been awesome. I wouldn't bet on it, though. I would absolutely not bet on it. And I just feel like Justin Fields, he's got this year, period, and is very, very likely just done after this year. I don't think they pick up his 5th-year option. I think they cut ties with him. Potentially they pick up his 5th-year option and try and trade him. But like, I don't think Justin Fields is a Chicago Bear next year. I don't. There were whispers that they might take quarterback at number 1 overall this season. How much louder do you think those whispers going to get? Nick Chubb, possible career ender that we just saw. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. And it is such a shame because Nick Chubb has been a fucking legend. Look at this. 5 yards per carry his entire career. His career average in the 4th quarter is over 6 yards per carry. That's wild. It's like he's one of the best to ever do it. And he's gone. And I hope he comes back because I hope he comes back and he's healthy, like the same guy. I don't foresee that happening. Hopefully Gibbs gets used more. They just kind of kept him in the same role and then let some jag fill in David Montgomery's role. whatever. Coach is going to coach, I guess. But like Stroud had a great game. I like that. Stroud having that game does give me a bit of hope because like I feel like Derek Carr and CJ Stroud, if Stroud becomes good, could transform you. But Tannehill's not looked awesome. And it just feels like this is Ryan Tannehill's last year as a starter. So like there's a very real chance that your only two starting quarterbacks next year are Stroud and Carr. And you don't have a first. You don't have a first until 2026. So like it's going to be tough for you to get like the Trey Lance thing kind of fucked you. Justin Fields turning out to be bad could potentially fuck you. You better pray that Stroud is good and that Tannehill keeps the job because it will be difficult for you to purchase a quarterback because like Gibson ain't doing shit. Singletary ain't doing shit. Herbert's not really startable. Bateman ain't doing shit. Made a lot of bets on young players, and a lot of these bets did not work out. Myself, I am basically looking to make deals. I've got a deep bench. I've got like Drake London on the bench, Garrett Wilson on the bench, Kadarius Toney, Pat Freiermuth, Sam Laporta, Greg Dulcich. So my idea is, I've got like 5 starting quarterbacks. I'm trying to package players together to upgrade a player. So when your bench gets deep like that, you want to become less deep, more elite. Use your depth to trade for elite. And that's very easy. It's much easier to do that in Dynasty because, as I've pointed out, a lot of teams are struggling for depth at certain positions. And depth is a very valuable thing in Dynasty because there's nothing on the waiver wire. So Tom is Saquon Barkley's injury could be bad. I didn't know Amon-Ra got injured. Doesn't say anything about it. Whatever. Hopefully he's fine. So basically, Tommy, you're probably just holding pat. And, Eckler's going to be healthy soon. Hopefully Saquon gets healthy soon. Hopefully Jacobs does something soon. Hopefully Jamar Chase does something soon. You're just kind of like trying to be patient and figuring it out because your team is producing points and getting wins. And I wouldn't be too overly worried. You're the second highest points producer in the league behind Jimmer. Raymond. The only other 2-0 are the brothers at the top, the Mertz brothers, chilling at the top. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Where is that at? You know what? Let's go ahead and hit it for him.
Ray's World, Tragic Ray starts to take.
Amen. All right, Raymond. Patrick Mahomes. Then you've got a very deep running back core with Kenneth Walker, Dameon Pierce, Raheem Mostert, Miles Sanders. You got Breida, who's probably going in for Barkley. I don't think he's going to get a workhorse role or anything like that. James Conner, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson, James Cook. God, you've got 4 incredible running backs on your bench here. Wow, you are very deep at running back. Again, Ray, if I'm you, I'm probably trying to consolidate. You're probably going to – I would be willing to take an L on a trade to consolidate some of my running back production into a more elite producer. Where you could use help, frankly, is the wide receivers. Nico Collins, frankly, I'm shocked at how well he is doing this year. I just sold him in my other league, and I might deeply, deeply regret it. Now, Nico did not quite hit the threshold that I'm looking for in the first 2 years. So I'm like, great, I need to bail. These guys are definitely going to address the wide receiver position in the offseason. Well, they didn't. Not really. So Nico could be taking a huge step forward here with his new quarterback. That said, I don't trust Christian Kirk all that much. He's not playing, he's playing in 3 wide receiver sets only. Now, this past game, they moved to more 3 wide receiver sets to get Christian Kirk on the field more. That said, he's not a guy I'm thrilled to start. And what you have after him is basically complete jank, except for Christian Watson. Yeah, I'm not going to comment. No comment on Sky Moore. But you basically got Christian Watson, these other 3 guys, DJ Moore, and Jank. Now, 5 receivers is decent, but I would probably want to take one of your 8 running backs and turn it into a wide receiver. Jimmer, one of the most interesting teams here, and I owe Jim several apologies. This will be the final thing, the final team that we talk about on this cast. Jim's in first place. And he did it without Travis Kelce at full strength, without Travis Kelce completely 1 week. He did it with a complete goose from Zay Jones. He's doing it without Jonathan Taylor. He just did it without Aaron Jones. I did not think that level of production was possible for Jim's team. Because if you would have told me that a small, unathletic, not fast, not quick, just bad athlete, that a running back that weighed in at the combine at like 180 something pounds, ran a like 4.65 or maybe even a 4.72. It was like almost offensive lineman levels of slow. That he would be the number 1 running back in week 2. He would get 95% of the snaps. I would have said that you were the dumbest mother lover I've ever talked to, because no NFL franchise is that stupid that they would start a guy who is that small, that slow, that a non-explosive. Like, he doesn't have good vertical jump. He doesn't have good broad jump. His cone drill was abysmal. Like, he doesn't have good agility scores. His speed score is just like in the first percentile. That is the guy who would be getting all of the work in LA. I would have never believed you. But here we are. Kyren Williams gets 10 targets in week 2 against San Francisco. 2 touchdowns in each of his 2 games. What is happening? I mocked you for making that pick, Jim. But here I am before you. I bow. I am not worthy. Having to start Deuce Vaughn, though, does feel bad. Another wildly tiny. The video of him in the preseason in his practice, it's just the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. It really does look like there's some child out there running around with the adults. I don't know. I don't feel like you need to trade for a running back because you're winning, but it's certainly on the radar. And I would be hitting up your brother. I would be hitting up Peter. Both of those guys have running backs they are probably looking to sell. I would hit up Rich. Rich has got some good running backs. If Juan decides that he's ready to tank, you could hit up Juan. He's got Mixon and Kamara. I also owe you a massive apology about ripping you for Sam Howell, because I thought that was a dumbass pick because Matt Corral was still on the board. Matt Corral was a 3rd-round pick compared to Sam Howell as a 5th-round pick. Well, guess what? Matt Corral never started a game, immediately got injured, cut from the team, completely replaced by Jordan, whatever the hell his name is, the number 1 pick overall. And Sam Howell's putting up fantasy points. He's putting up fantasy points. They're 2-0. If they keep winning, why would they ever replace Sam Howell? I'm a little speechless, frankly. I'm a little speechless. If JT ever comes back, your team's looking pretty good. JT, Aaron Jones, and Kyron Williams. That's 3 running backs. That's about what you need, bare minimum, in order to compete. And you've got draft capital if you ever decide you want to trade any of it to go out and purchase an additional running back. Maybe you don't want to go get something elite. Maybe you just get like a Rashad White, Alec Madison type, and you just offer a second. And you even get to keep your first. Like, keep doing what you're doing, bro. It's working. You're getting points. Your bench is ungodly ugly, but like Tony Jones gets in the end zone twice. Without that, he has one of the worst fantasy days ever. But like, you've got a couple of semi-producers on the bench. Adam Thielen, the ghost of Adam Thielen, still out there running routes, getting targets. I don't know, man. This is wild. It's just crazy to me. Anyways, that's all I got for this cast, guys. If you enjoyed what I had to say about your team, great. I hope that it helps you. I hope that you are able to move forwards in a direction that is beneficial to you. If not, well, at least you got to hear my voice. And more importantly, I got to hear my voice. All right, guys, I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.